Well, welcome. I'm doing this podcast by myself today because I made a mistake, and the person that was supposed to be here thought it was going to be a Zoom call, and I totally I totally botched it. But I thought this would be a an opportunity for me to talk about what's going on with me and coaching the Redline and what's going on with my practice and my life and my journey with God and stuff like that. I thought that I'd talk for a while. I actually have a list of questions that I ask my clients, and so I thought that I would really just sort of play off what I do. My name's Alec Gonzales. I've been a pastor for over 15 years. Before that, I was always involved in leadership and ministry, probably a serial entrepreneur, just always building businesses and starting businesses and running businesses, starting ministry things at our church. I used to attend Life Center Church in Spokane, Washington, a big mega church that always had stuff to do that I was always excited about. Got saved when I was 18 years old. Actually, it was yesterday was my birthday back in Seattle. I was going to Ballard High School, and a friend of mine tried to share the gospel with me, and I didn't kind of understand where he was going. But his girlfriend called and suggested that he come to church, and he said I didn't have a ride, and I was like, well, I'll give you a ride. And so that day, later in the evening, we went to his church in Bethel Temple in downtown Seattle, Second Avenue in Lenora, was this big, huge church. And we went down to the basement, and there was couches and chairs and a pulpit and music. And I sat on one of the couches to just be comfortable because I was kind of selfish and cocky and thought I would just be as comfortable as I could. And then the music started going, and I just kind of enjoyed myself. And then this pastor, this evangelist, Leonard Darby, what a man of God, just bolted out of his chair and started preaching from Ephesians or Galatians or something like that. And he just caught my attention. I could not let go of what he was saying, and it could not stop listening to him. It was just riveting. And at the very end, he had us, closing our eyes and bowing our heads. And I opened my eyes. I was looking at the carpet at my feet, realizing that what he was saying was absolutely true, that Jesus was the only way to God, that I myself was a terrible, sinful person, and that I was destined to go to hell if I didn't repent. And he was like, raise your hand if you want to be saved. And I did. I raised my hand. Boy, 1980. I was 40. I can't even tell you how long ago. It was over 40 years, I guess, because I'm 61 and I was 18. So you do the math. That was a long time ago, but changed my life forever. And over the years, I've moved to Spokane, and me and my wife, we have a great life here. And started businesses and started churches and closed businesses and closed churches, and now I'm a life coach and starting a spiritual direction practice. And coaching's been just a really neat and interesting journey over the last 2.5 years as I've really delved and dove into it. My heart's desire is to serve and be with pastors as they live life in the difficult journey of busyness and hurry and the beauty of ministry and the calling and the work of God. And yet sometimes it's just soul crushing. I remember that my friend Dave Wilkinson used to take us out to a monastery up in Oregon, Mount Angel, and he would start with this reading in Matthew. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. And yoke with me, and my burden is easy and light. And I remember every year he'd read that in a passage in a different. I think it was the Message, but I would always just like, man, I do not get this, and it usually made me angry because I just didn't have that sort of easy, light burden. It was always heavy and hard. And I would say that I was always burning out as a pastor, always just struggling to to find some sustainable pace. And I remember early on, I we talked about sustainable pace, and around the room there was a bunch of people that just said, "There's no such thing as sustainable pace in ministry." And I was like, "Yeah, sure there is. I'll figure it out." But I never did. I never figured out any sort of sustainable pace. I wasn't, you know, doing any kind of Sabbath thing. It was just really difficult. And now as a coach and a spiritual director, my hope and desire is that I can walk with pastors who are journeying down roads of burnout and hurry, and just be present with them, and notice the work of God in their life. Um I would say currently there's an interesting thing that's happening to me as far as my relationship with Jesus. Um, my coach, my life coach, Lisa Fairburn, just a great friend, was talking to me about how she's been doing these 5 thankful and 1 intention. She writes down 5 things that she's thankful for today, and 1 thing that she's intending to do. And so I've been trying to practice that. I try to do it every morning, but just name the things that I'm thankful for. Today was kind of beautiful because I was listening to some music, I use Benedictine monks chanting, and I do my quiet time reading and journaling and stuff. And it was nice to realize how pretty it was, how calming it was, how it helped me focus, and really just makes me happy. And then reading the Bible and journal. And I was reading today in Psalms, and it was a really neat verse about how God makes from the earth, right, from the dirt, grass that grows that the cattle eat for us, and crops that grow so that we can have food, and wine that grows so that we can be cheered, and oil that grows so that our faces can shine. I just thought that was so cool that God is making grow out of the dirt all the things that we need, not just for what our needs are, but our pleasures, and our even our vanity and enjoyment. And I just think that's so cool. Out of the dirt, right? Not some great thing, but just right out of the soil of the earth comes these things that supply all the things that we need for the world. Uh, I think that's um well, life coaching. I'll talk a little bit about life coaching and spiritual direction. I've been coaching for 2.5 years, and life coaching is often about just spending time focusing on the things that have been unattended to, or really not the focus of our lives. I know in so many ways I struggle because I'm naturally good at certain things, and naturally stumble and am poor at other things. And so the things that I'm naturally have natural talent at, and really enjoy, tend to focus my attention on. The things that I'm less talented at and less inclined to, I tend to ignore and not pay attention to. Or if I don't like them or they're painful for me, I ignore them. And so those things go unattended too. And coaching really draws out, well, what are the things that are not moving as they should, in order for you to kind of have the life satisfaction that you want to have. And I'll just use this for instance. I love coaching. I love networking. I love being with people and interacting. But I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a planning guy. I often the back end stuff with bookkeeping and books and management and journaling and all this stuff that you have to do as a life coach, I often don't focus on and look at. And so my life coach will ask me, well, what do you want to work on today? And I'm like, man, I haven't done my books for weeks, and I haven't been journaling, and I haven't been doing the delightful details of my job. And as much as I think my job is great, there's things that I've been ignoring. And so as a coach, we'll talk about those issues and then begin to find insight, result, and importance of those things. And then we'll just sort of outline, action steps. And the thing about coaching that I think is really, really cool is not hierarchical and it's not telling. My coach and I don't tell, my coachees what they ought to do. I ask them questions to draw out from them what is going on. What are they hearing from importance? What are they hear? Why is it important that you do the books? Why is it important, that you spend more time with your wife? Why is it important that you eat more healthy or stop, smoking pot or drinking? And then from within them, the activity of the Holy Spirit and in their own soul, they'll come up with the answers, both why it's important, what the result they want, what the goals ought to be set, and what the action steps are to take week after week. And it's just a really cool way to see things improve and change. I would say coaching is about transformation and change. And spiritual direction, which is a different practice, it's similar because you ask questions and you try to be a good listener. The spiritual direction is about noticing, right? Noticing the relationship of God with your directee. The person that's in the directee chair is talking about life and talking about what's going on, and the spiritual director is interested in that relationship with God and how it's active in their life, and drawing out what do you think God is doing? What do you think God is thinking? And how are you seeing God in all of this? And it's just a beautiful presentation of God at work in the life of ministry, but also business owners and people that just want to improve the relationship that they have with God. If you're interested in coaching or spiritual direction, I'd love to talk to you. Always available. You can message me or call. What are you currently celebrating in business and ministry? Boy, I would say that the thing that I'm celebrating is that business is sort of fallen out of the sky. Sometimes try so hard to make things happen. I like networking. I like going to meetings. I like meeting people and pitching coaching and telling people how they ought to be a coach or be coached. But lately, I've had clients just fall out of the sky. People are recommending the websites, sending people. So that's kind of exciting. I'm kind of celebrating that. In my journey, who would you most like to thank and why? Well, obviously, Linda is always the answer to that question. My wife is just amazing. I don't know if how many people know the story, but we've been married a long time, 30 years in August. We've had just a tremendous life together. She's such an encouragement. She likes me, and is always in my corner, super, super loyal and generous and kind and welcoming and loving and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to tell the story of that. Not long ago, last year in December, on the 3rd, she had an episode and ended up at the hospital, and she died and revived, and was just a very dark time. I mean, it was really dark. I didn't know if she would live or if she would die. She's doing great right now, so don't worry about her. But it was really, really difficult and troubling, and we weren't sure that she would live. We weren't sure if she would pull through. She did miraculously. One of the really cool parts of this story is there were so many people who really felt God drawing them to believe for healing, to believe for a miracle. And God did just a profound miracle. And Linda is doing great. He raised her up and she's just doing really good. And I'm just really thankful to God. How have you experienced the Redline burnout and overload? Well, I talked about it before. In church work that I did, I was just over my head. I call it functioning burnout, right? I was doing okay, but I wasn't thriving in my relationships with God and with others. I was just overburdened, overhurried, overtired, never feeling rest for my soul. And yeah, near the end of the church closing, it was just, it was pretty unbearable. Um, how have you experienced freedom from burnout and overload? Um, golly, for me, it was just slowing down, just giving up all responsibility. I remember when I landed at River City Church, I told our pastor Bobby Moore, you know, I don't want any responsibility. I just don't want to do anything. I don't really like people. I don't really want to go to church. I haven't really been, you know, too active in my practices. I just, you know, I just need to rest and relax and stop working. And that's probably my story as far as recovering from burnout and overload, is just ending up at a place where I didn't have any responsibilities for a very long time. It was a couple of years before I started doing anything of any kind of significance for ministry or church, whatever. What are you looking to achieve as you look forward? You know, I want to help people. I want to help people change. I want to help people notice their relationship with God. I want to help pastors, especially, find that spark, that imagination, that joy, that pleasure of serving and loving and doing the work of God. I think that's my hope and prayer, and I hope I'll continue to do that. I'm going to be posting these videos on Facebook. I got a YouTube channel, Coaching the Redline, and hope to see you around. Thanks, and have a really great day.